At the tag end of 2021, Nikon released a new DX zoom, the 18-140 f3.5 to 6.3. This lens was a little bit of a surprise, but we welcomed it to the DX lineup, having only had 2 DX zoom lenses. In fact, 2 DX lenses full stop for the Z mount.
Because we are all inclusive.
This lens is made up of 17 elements in 13 groups, including 2 ED and 2 aspherical elements. They have not skimped on the optics.
They just threw all the elements at it.
They did. It is a plastic mounted lens, so you would expect that it would compromise a little bit in quality, but it's also the first DX lens to encompass a function ring.
In terms of build quality, it is between 16-50 lens and let's say S-class on full frame.
But what we're really concerned about is the performance. We've had a little bit of time to play with one. We've mounted it on the Z50 and the ZFC and compared it to the 24-200, which is about the full frame equivalent, as well as comparing it to the 18-140 f-mount lens, which has been around for quite a few years and came out originally with the D7000 series.
Our first impression, comparing 18-140 f-mount with Z-mount, is the sharpness. Z-lens pops a lot more.
It's considerably sharper if you are blowing up to 100%. Obviously, if you're going to look at pictures on a tiny screen, you probably won't see a big difference between them. But when looking at the pictures after the fact in post-production, you can really see that there's a big sharpness difference and also a contrast difference, I would say.
Absolutely. So I think the sharpness is achieved due to a better micro contrast.
Yeah.
So one thing we've noticed that vibration reduction on this lens is a lot smoother compared to the f-mount version. We did find the f-mount version being a little bit jerky sometimes, where you can see that VR would jump quite noticeably in the viewfinder or the live view.
I think one of the reasons why this lens was so much quieter and faster to focus is the autofocus technology. It's got a very fancy name. They're called voice coil motors. It's silent for focusing and completely seamless and smooth.
Absolutely. And the lens has vibration reduction because actually Z50 and ZFC don't have vibration reduction on the sensors themselves.
Very true. Another few key specs for you. The lens will focus at a minimum aperture of f22 to f40 throughout the range. You also have a close focusing distance of a mere
20 centimeters at 18mm end, and it's 40 centimeters at 140 end, which is again a very common thing with Z glass. They can focus really, really close to the subject, and on some images that we'll publish, you'll see how close you can get.
Yeah. It does weigh a mere 315 grams, so it's also smaller and lighter than the F-mount version. Obviously, the F-mount version was a metal-mounted lens, so you would expect it to be a little bit heavier, and physically it's a bit bigger. This is a 67mm diameter front filter, whereas this one is a 62mm front diameter. But okay, let's talk about our impressions when using it in the field, as it were, because I was out with it all day shooting while you were with the 24-200, and then I gave it over to you for a brief period of time. What were your impressions of it while using it?
Okay, at the beginning, I kind of scoffed at it because I've looked at it and I thought, it's 18-140, it's going to be about the same as 24-200, yada, yada, yada. Then I actually used it, and the first thing I've noticed is the size of it. So it's a nice little package. Even on ZFC, I thought it was going to be front heavy. It is definitely not. So this 315 grams of weight does help quite a bit. Now, I didn't use it much on the day where we compared the both lenses. I took a few shots and I was like, yeah, it looks about the same. Now, I had it over the weekend now, and I ran it through paces. I can tell a couple of things. I took it with me to the field with Steely. So autofocus speed is pretty good. It's better than F-mount version of the lens.
Considerably.
It's not going to be 70-200 speed or 100-400 speed, but I was surprised at how many keepers I could get on this setup. And I wouldn't call this setup to be particularly like, let's say, sport action wildlife setup.
No, sure.
So I was quite surprised. Then the longer end as well, optically, in my opinion, is superior than the wider angle. And so let's say it's better anything between, let's say, 70 to 140, and then let's say between 18 to 50. So especially at 18, it is quite soft. You get a little bit of vignetting and and not sharp corners. Let's say you get quite a fall off in the in the corners of the frame. But once you start to zoom in, it actually performs better on the longer end, and generally a lot of those lenses, something like 24-200 at 200 and is not as good. This one at 140 I think is better than 24-200 at 200.
I would agree. I was pleasantly surprised by the results. I have looked at all of my photos from the days that I've been shooting with it, and I can't actually fault it in any situation. I wasn't shooting fast moving action. We were generally doing kind of streetscape. I was imagining that I was a tourist in my hometown and pretending that this would be a lens I would take if I was going for a weekend in Paris, or if I was going sort of city trekking in Rome, because I aspire to such things. And
absolutely, a woman of culture.
That's right. And truly, it would be a lens that I would carry around with me for that kind of thing. Not too heavy at all. Really didn't bother me in terms of size and ergonomics on the ZFC. But I was incredibly impressed with the sharpness close up. There's a picture which I will share, which I shot at the closest focusing distance of around the 140 end, and when I zoomed into it 100%, you could even see the tiny cobwebs that you couldn't see with the naked eye. That's on the picture. Cool. I was super impressed with it. Also, just the general contrast and color reproduction is lovely. So I would say, if you are in the market for a DX camera and you haven't opted for the 16 to 50, 50 to 250 combination, or you have that combination but you're thinking you'd rather have a lens that kind of does a bit of everything rather than taking two lenses around with you, this is definitely worth having a look at.
Absolutely. I think as a setup, it's definitely a lot more portable than something like Z6 with 24-200 lens, which is a little bit front heavy in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if I were rebuying my kit, so Z50, I went for the Z50 with the 16 to 50. I would probably forego that little pancake lens for the sake of this, for the simple reason that I prefer this range and it just gives you that much more of an opportunity to take photos. I think the 16 to 50 is lovely because it does slip in your pocket almost.
Indeed.
But this is a considerable step up.
Absolutely. And if it would be me, I would go for Z9 and 50mm f1.2 lens.
Very portable.
Indeed.
If you're an F-mount user, or if you've been using your F-mount 18 to 140 on an FTZ,
yep.
Again, this is going to be a more compact option. Obviously, it's not a negligible price. It's $599 or thereabouts.
It's reasonable. It's reasonable, and obviously it is reaching the territory where for a lot of people it might be quite a bit of investment.
Yeah, but I think if you're looking, whether it's for you or for somebody who is starting in photography, this lens will kind of do everything. I think we've gone past the point where we need 18 to 300 in the DX range. Maybe that will come at some point in the future, and I'm sure that whatever Nikon produce in the Z range, it's going to be pretty amazing. But this is a really nice addition.
Yeah. I really hope we're not going to have 18 to something lenses that Nikon had for F-mount. We had 18 to 55, 5 different versions. We had 18 to 70, 18 to 105, 18 to 135, 18 to 140, 18 to 200, 2 versions, 18 to 300, 2 versions as well. So I really hope this is going to be probably the one, and maybe if they release 18 to 300 lens, and that should be more than plenty.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, this is not a professional lens. It's not going to win any Product of the Year awards or anything like this.
I don't know.
But my point is that a part of us really keen enthusiasts who have a luxury of using expensive equipment and professional equipment, there's a lot of people who just starting, who want to get their camera and the lens for family things, and they want something nice and portable, and they don't want to have many lenses like, let's say, 16 to 50 and 50 to 200 setup.
Yeah.
So for them, this is a really good package, especially for its optical performance as well.
Absolutely. We hope you've enjoyed this mini review of the 18 to 140. If you've used this lens, if you like this lens, if you'd like to see Nikon produce more DX lenses, drop us a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you again very soon.